What's going on, everybody? I'm here bringing you a chess set review from a set from the House of Staunton. This is their library Reykjavik series. Also on the literature, it says it's the Reykjavik 2 series. I don't know if there's a difference. Anyway, this is a representation or a reproduction, I should say, of the Spassky Fischer World Championship match. That was in 1972, according to the literature. And it's a nice set. Overall, it's a nice set, and if you want to save yourself some time, I recommend this set. But we're going to go into the details here and give you hopefully a close-up look of what you'll be getting. I found the pictures on the website accurate as far as what you're getting, what you'll get at home. But we'll go into each of the pieces here, and we'll go into the overall aesthetics of the board. I mean, not the board, of the set. So the material is boxwood. The white is traditionally boxwood, and it looks good. It's a nice color. It's good material, and you can't go wrong with boxwood. And the black pieces that came with this I got the lower end set, is also boxwood. It's ebonized boxwood. I don't know what that means, the ebonized boxwood. Are they some kind of alchemists? Are they turning boxwood into ebony? No, they're just blackening the pieces, right? So ebonized just means they're gonna tint it black. And black actually is my preferred look for chess sets. I like the slightly natural off-colored white. I don't know what to call it, beige or anyway. So I like the white and black look. I don't really like white and brown, especially when the brown is highly. When you can see the grain, when the grain just jumps out at you. Now I think grain on the wood is beautiful. Like on the squares here, it looks kind of nice, and especially it looks kind of nice on some furniture and I don't know, the buttstock of a rifle. But for my chess pieces, especially for a Staunton chess set, which is kind of supposed to be simplistic, not simplistic, simple. I'm simplistic. Then you're kind of defeating the purpose when you put these, highly stylized chess pieces, or when the grain is just jumping out at you. It shouldn't do that, in my opinion, in my infallible aesthetic opinion. What was I saying? Anyway, so we'll get into the pieces now. The weight on the pieces is what most people would consider double weighted. The king is advertised at 2.03 ounces, but I put it on the scale and it's at 2.15. So close enough, right? It's close enough. And if you can see that, it settles nicely. That's too steep. Right? All the pieces are gonna pretty much just, they're not gonna topple over. You're not gonna tip them over unless you really bang them. Not enough, but still a good weight to all the pieces. I think the pawns should be a little bit heavier, but I get it. They're smaller. How much weight are you going to put in them? Now for the individual design of these pieces, I like it. I like the set. Not completely happy with each piece, and I'll go into it, and maybe you'll agree. So here we go. The pawn. The pawn has a nice heft to it. It's not too thin. It's not actually beefy. The collar, has his nice accent to it. The base on all of these, what I like about the base on all of these is the bottom lip here, or the bottom footing here, or the footing here, whatever you want to call it, doesn't stick out past the top part of this, bottom part of the piece. And sometimes you get a set where this part sticks out a little bit more, and then of course the base is bigger, but it's kind of a cheat. I mean, you get like a king, and they say it's a 1625 base, but proportionally wise, you're not getting more piece. You're getting it's not as hefty. I mean, its heftiness is the same as you'd get from a 1.5 base king. I mean, you're just putting a thin layer on the bottom and extending it out, and you're saying the piece has a bigger base, which would make you think that the piece in general is bigger, but it isn't. Anyway, and plus it gives it a little bit of a shadow, and it makes it look like the pieces are floating on the board. And I don't like that aesthetic. I like the pieces look like they're grounded onto the board, and this kind of base does that. Okay. Next, here we go. The Rook, which I said already. Well, maybe I didn't say. I don't like these deep crenellations. Crenellations are supposed to be halfway up the parapet, such that it covers from foot to chest the man behind it. So these aren't even representative of what crenellations are supposed to be. Supposed to do, right? Here, form doesn't follow function. I just learned that phrase, so I use it all the time now. Anyway, and it also makes these pieces more easily snappable. That's a word. So I don't like it. It adds a little bit of like flariness to the top, which I don't like. It doesn't fit with the set. And I think this part of the set, the main part, that it should be a little bit thicker, and the piece should be a little bit taller. So my biggest gripe with this set is the Rook. Should be bigger, should be beefier, and it should be less ornate up top. And you could do that by making the crenellations a less deep of a cut. The Knight is your normal L-shaped piece, right? It's shaped in an L position, which is representative of the way a knight moves, right? You get it? So that's a nice aesthetic, right? There's a design pattern. And I want to mention also the Staunton piece here. You have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 crenellations, 5 crenellations, no, 6 crenellations. And the older sets had only 4. You'd have one here, one here, one here, one here. And then if you look at it, they would kind of point to the directions, the north, south, east, west directions that a Rook travels, right? And that was also a nice aesthetic. But they started going away from that to add a little bit more heftiness to the top. The more cuts you have, the more flare it looks like. It's, it gives it more beefiness up top somehow by taking away material. Don't ask me how that works. So the aesthetics for the Knight being L-shaped, I understand. I don't prefer it to a more natural-looking Knight where the head is tilted down, as horses' heads are naturally tilted down. But I don't hate it. The detail on the Knight is good. It's detailed as far as like teeth. The teeth look like separate little teeth. You got the nostrils going. You got the eyeballs. You got the mane. You got the top is kind of smooth except for where the mane is, and it's a good piece feel when you pick it up. It's nicely textured. The body has got like almost like where your thumb goes perfectly. So it's the Knight fits with this set. It's a well-fitting Knight, let's call it. It's not my preferred kind of Knight, but it does fit well with the set, and I don't hate the Knight, so it's a good Knight. The Bishop is, if you look at the Bishop this way, and you put a pawn next to it, and maybe we hide the little ball with the flesh of my skin, kind of looks like an overgrown pawn, right? And that's not a good look. I don't like that look when the pawn and the Bishop kind of just look like a mini-me, when the pawn looks like a mini-me of the Bishop. Now, of course, that's not exactly all there is to the Bishop. You got the little mitered angled cut, which is, again, is representative of the angle or the diagonal in which a Bishop travels. So you have this aesthetic going, which is one of the beauties of the Staunton sets. The head, or this part here, is not exactly a ball. It's more like an upside-down teardrop. And then it's got the little tiny ball up top. So, and the collars, of course, it's got more collar to it. It's got 3 little collars to it. And so it makes it stand out as, different from the pawn. Not just in size, but just a different look to it. Enough where it doesn't look like a big pawn floating around the board. So good job going there. They could have easily messed that up. Next, the Queen. The Queen is your typical Queen with, you got the crown up here. It's not too pointy. It's not going to hurt you. You get the ball, so it matches the bishop in that sense, and you get the collars and the height. The height difference is good here. Many chess sets get this wrong, I think, where if the queen was designed to look exactly like the bishop, it should still stand out as the queen just because of the height difference, and you should take it in instantly. It should be an instant thing you take in. You shouldn't have to look at it and wonder. And even with the board cluttered, it should just jump out at you as being different from the bishop. Now, with relationship to the king, though, I think they've got this wrong. This queen is getting somewhat dwarfed by the king, and I never liked that look. I mean, I've always understood the king to be the queen's husband, not the queen's father, although that may be true historically, but here, I think this is better, right? I think this looks better. It just is better, where the queen and the king are closer in size, and yet the king is still clearly bigger than the queen. If they looked identical, other than height, you would still know that's the king in an instant. And the king should be the biggest piece because obviously it's the most important piece. It's basically you on the chessboard, but the queen is the most powerful piece on the chessboard, and she shouldn't be getting dwarfed even by her husband, the king. And now look at it again, and you tell me it doesn't look small to you. It looks small, right? Okay, so those are my two, I would say my two complaints on the design of this chess set is the rook is too small, the queen is too small. The design, though, as far as everything else, it's a great looking set. I'm not in love with the knight, but it's a good looking knight. Bishop is fine, the king is fine. Everything is good on this set. I like it. Heftiness-wise, weight-wise, it's good. The base, 1.5 inches on the king here, is perfect for a 2-inch squared board. If you go bigger on the base, even by 1.25, so if you get a 1.625 king, a base with a base of 1.625, it's going to look a little bit crowded on a 2-inch squared board. I would go a little bit bigger. I'd go 2 1/8 on the, even maybe 2 1/4. Here's a little test I saw online. That when the king and the queen are lined up like this, the bishop should travel easily through them, right? And when the pieces are a little bit bigger, you'll get a little bit bumping going on. It'll look more like this. And anyway, that's the test, and this one passes the test. So if you get this set, I recommend a 2-inch square board. Maybe you like your boards. Maybe you like even more spacing. I kind of prefer more spacing as compared to less spacing, and so I would get that if you like that. But 2 inches for 1.5. All right. Now, let's talk about this particular set as far as quality control. I have three discrepancies. We'll start off with from the minor to the major. Here we go. The first one is, and I don't think you're going to pick this up, but I'll give it a shot here. During the ebonizing process, so they put some kind of lacquer on the piece. The lacquer chipped. It didn't harden, or they didn't smooth out, or the wood wasn't smoothed out to begin with, which I tend to doubt. I think it's just a lacquer that is chipping, so you have a bit of roughness here, and it's kind of like cracking. I don't know if that's coming in, but that's what it is. So it's an imperfect finish here. It's kind of rough, and you can tell a bit that it's not in keeping with the rest of the piece. Okay, so that's one minor detail, or one minor discrepancy. The second one is this knight has kind of, it just comes loose way too easily. You don't get that on the other knights, but this particular knight comes out. Now, it's not broken. It's just, I mean, you put a little wood glue here and then bickety blam, you're good to go. But I don't like that it's come apart like that. I haven't even played a complete chess game with this set. I've had it for like less than 2 weeks, and I'm making this video, but the pieces already, comes apart. And then now, this is my biggest complaint, and this is, I think, is not acceptable, and something I'm going to take up with the House of Staunton, and then maybe, and then I'll make a follow-up review video as to far what happened. Is that this particular night, the wood is cracked. Let's see if you can see it here. Right here, the wood is cracked, and also, not just in one place, but also right here, the wood is cracked. So this pawn is going to end up cracking anytime soon, and this is how it came. This is a brand new set, and that's not acceptable. So, again, I will take this up with the House of Staunton and let them make it right, and then I will report what happened, and hopefully it'll be good news. So I would hate to get stuck with a cracked pawn. Okay, so that's the library Reykjavik chess set from the House of Staunton. I think it's a very attractive set. I would recommend this set. I would recommend this set with a 2-inch square board. 1, because the base is great. 2, the color is good. The material is good. The heftiness as far as weight is good. The size is good, unless you don't like 3.25-inch king. If you think that looks a little smallish, then of course you can get a bigger size, of course, and you're going to pay the difference. I think this one was, as I recall, it was $119. They had a 10% discount going on, but then there was shipping, and I think the shipping was a little above $13, and the shipping took like 6 days to arrive, which is not really a big deal, but I have a chess set from Wholesale Chess and a chess set from the chess store, and neither one of those stores charged shipping, and both of their packages arrived quicker than this chess set from the House of Staunton. And by the way, I did not get this board from the House of Staunton. This didn't come. I didn't buy the whole set with board. I just bought the pieces. This came with another set, which I'll review soon. So there you go, folks. I hope you got a good look at the set. I don't know. I'd give this set like an 8 out of 10 as far as aesthetics, as far as weight, as far as heftiness. This particular set, because of the broken piece, because of the dismembered, it's not dismembered, because of the, the knight here. Hello, not cool. And then because of the bad finish on the rook, I cannot give this more than an 8. If it didn't have those discrepancies, I'd still I have a hard time giving it more than like an 8.5, because of, I think, it was a smallish rook and a smallish queen. All right, so there you go. I hope you like it. If you have any comments, any little quips, any criticisms, maybe you want to talk about my little pudgy fingers, which aren't so pudgy in real life, but hell, who cares, right? Leave it in the comments. And I appreciate you watching. And hopefully I'll get better at this video making stuff. I'm kind of old, so, technology and all. All right, later.